Hi everyone, welcome to another session of G Niger TV News Scope. My name is Olatunde and we have some news for you. So the first news that we actually have that we want to talk about briefly, it's about the bandit leader um, who actually told security operatives in the north that if you kill 10 of us, 20 will emerge. That is part of the security situation that we've been talking about the past few weeks. Then this it will be followed basically about the sad event that took place. I think going like about 2 weeks now, which is the fire that actually engulfed the building that the UBA staff were actually in. That about I think right now I think about 5 6 people actually died, and so we want to talk about what really happened in terms of where were all the safeguards that were put in place. UBA is not a small fry, it's a very huge bank in Nigeria. So, then followed by IBA's Reject Assembly's move to probe a 6 month spending in River State. As you all remember, that the incumbent governor was suspended, Fubara. He had some issues with his political godfather. Is it Wike, the FCT, um, is the FCT governor, basically. So, and so because of that, the president had to intervene and had to suspend the governor by imposing a state of emergency on River State. So, which has now come to an end. Then, last but not the least, is about the healthcare. That the healthcare in Nigeria is a joke. This was actually said by the socialite Cubana chief priest. And you'll be wondering if somebody of the caliber of Cubana could be saying that. I mean, that means that he can afford it. And so if somebody like him is saying something along that line, that means that the situation is really bad when you are in Nigeria and like the ordinary citizens in Nigeria, when it comes to the issue of healthcare, is a nightmare. And I think the government focus have to be shifted to that. That is the sitting time bomb. So let's get started with the story, the bandit story. So let me just bring this up very quickly. So the bandits that we have in Nigeria now, they are now emboldened. They are emboldened. I mean, look, let's face facts. If somebody does not have, there is something, or there is someone, or there are some powers that they are depending on. There are some influential, powerful people in the country, but no matter how a person is powerful, can't be more powerful than God. So, the story is about um, Kachela Umaru, a notorious bandit kingpin, has won law enforcement against a kinetic approach to tackling insecurity. Umaru spoke on Saturday during peace talks between bandit groups and community leaders in Matazu local government area of Katsina. uh, Zagazola Makama, a counterinsurgency publication focused on the Lake Chad region, shared a clip of Umaru saying, "Killing bandits only makes matter worse." Can you imagine? If today you kill 10 bandits, tomorrow you will see 20. You will kill 20, another 30 will rise, both in our bushes and villages, he said. Truth be told, the government doesn't care about anyone. All is after is how to generate money. If the government cared about the people, all these things won't be happening. If our boys mistakenly abduct anyone, or if security operatives apprehend one of our stakeholders, should be involved and see that the person taken is released. Let's tell ourselves the truth. If we know these talks won't foster any peace between us, then it will be the best if things remain the way they are. You people, that is referring to the resident of Matazu local government area, are also part of the problem because you are fond of complaining to security operatives and giving them information. And even when they come to where we are, they don't kill even a bird, but you hear in the news that 10 bandits have been killed and they will be paid. If the operators won't be told to leave us alone, then I don't think these peace talks have any importance. Speaking to the divisional police officer, Dan Musa, the local government area, Umaru harped on respecting terms of agreement. To you, the DPO of Damosa local government area, if you want this our peace talk to yield anything tangible, then every favor we seek should be considered and done for us. And from your end, he added, anything you request from us, bandits, we see to it that it is done. This is just the truth of the matter. It will be shameful if you come to us something and we don't do it for you, and the same thing goes for you. It will be shameful if we come to you for something and you don't do it for us. Let's help one another and live in peace. I pray all that we have discussed is something that will be of benefit to us all. The meeting was convened to foster peace and reconciliation in the state. It follows renewed efforts by stakeholders to end banditry in Katsina and neighboring states. Community elders at the dialogue urged the bandits and security agencies to commit to genuine peace for the safety of residents. On Wednesday, the bandits released 28 abductees in Faskari local government area of Katsina following a peace deal. The action was part of a reconciliation effort spearheaded by the local authorities to reduce the violent attack in the area. Um, I don't know. I mean, honestly, we want peace, obviously, but when you look at the way these people are talking, it's almost like um, when there is war, the the side that actually has the upper hand usually will dictate terms, and it seems to me that the bandits are actually dictating terms. I'm not against looking for peace and having to make deals like this, but sometimes I get the feeling that it's like making a deal with the devil. You can never outwit the devil when you want to make a deal with him, and that is exactly what is happening here. The bandits commander is telling people, that is telling the DPO, this is a man that is you know that is responsible for abducting people, coming as if he's an opposing side, like as if it's a legitimate thing. Let's agree. So if somebody is doesn't have money, they are hungry and everything. So if they go to a bank, put on a baklava, carry a machete or a gun, I've said this before. So does that justify it? Because oh well, they don't have money, so they have to make money. Is that real life? No, that is not that at all. So except you are prepared to be a criminal. And so there is so much here that is not this is not, quite frankly, I don't think this is the road that we should be going through. Honestly, I don't think this is the road. So what is it's almost like they're asking them to respect us. Okay, I mean, I thought the government should be telling them that, okay, look, we will be doing things to settle you guys, maybe to like they've got these projects going on that they are supposed to actually rehabilitate all these the bandits, kidnappers, and terrorists and all that. But we know that most often it doesn't work because it's not based on reality. If they are doing this, so somebody else as well will stand up and say, well, after all, this was done for Kachela, so why can't we do the same thing? Kill a bunch of people. So are they going to be are they going to be taking um are they going to be charged for all the murders, everything they've done? Because these people have murdered literally hundreds, if not thousands of people. And these coming dictating times, no, quite frankly, I'm not really on this. So I mean, guys, what do you think? Do you think they should just continue with these? They're after all trying to make peace and all that. Personally, I don't agree with this. So moving swiftly on. Um Yikes. So the next story that we have, right? Let me get rid of this. The sad event that actually took place almost over a week now, or if not more. It's something that nobody prays for. If we all, I mean, I don't know if you guys actually remember 9/11, what happened, but that was a terrorist attack. But in this, what really happened here is really a terrible thing. It's a terrible, terrible thing. Six precious souls lost their lives. You know, I've just been wondering, how did we get to this place? Initially the report that actually came out back then says, "Oh, thank God, nothing happened, people didn't die." So and I'm thinking, what I'm saying now is just speculation. I'm not saying it's a fact, but somebody was actually talking about that they were asking the stakeholders, those who are responsible, because for a business, I understand that UBA doesn't own the building. So because even if UBA does not own the building, I mean, so I'm just asking question here. Was there any plan actually put in place, say, for the I don't know whether UBA actually occupies the entire building, the entire skyscraper or no. Um, so the question is this: do they have any I'm sure UBA will have, like fire prevention uh, strategies in place, so they have policies, in terms of safety, fire safety, where the emergency, So what happened? What really happened? How did this actually happen? And then those that own the building, so who is responsible for making sure that the building actually has, that actually has a fire plan in place? So because when you actually look at this, right? So what's the policy that has to do with in terms of in case of fire emergency? What are the policies that are being put in place to deal with this? What's the framework? Because if there was one, well, what I can say is that every single one of them has failed on every level. I actually saw a disheartening video, with people jumping out the windows. And when you see the heights that you are actually looking at, it's almost like the fire actually started from downstairs, or somewhere roundabout, at least below where they are. So, and it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And I think you'll be able to actually carry out a very urgent um investigation, and the police as well should actually get involved. How did this started? And there are in terms of what the remediative action that needs to actually be taken, they need to actually expedite that and really come out with that very quickly if they're still going to be using the same building. Because I mean, this is crazy. I mean, just look at this. These are young people in the prime of life. Their life is just about to start. And for this sort of thing to actually happen, it's very sad. Really, really sad. You know? So there's no amount, they actually mentioned them, one of them is 21, the another is 26, 36, 41, 27-year-old, you know. Jason Tony Shodipo, Kendi Adeoye, Indidi, um, Osamedike Okeke, Olumide Oyefodunrin, Opayemi Oluyede, Rebecca Adenuga. May their soul rest in peace. But this is not acceptable. This is not acceptable. This is a painful, like somebody actually said, a commentator said, painful loss. Young people in their prime. Condolences to their family. God Almighty comfort their families. So UBA actually holds a duty of care to ensure that these people work in a safe, environment. And an international organization like UBA, I found it very difficult that they were, they have been found wanting it's obvious. This is not about. I'm not slandering them. UBA is a very, it's a very strong, reliable, dependable bank. I don't bank with them, but I can tell you that they are not a new generation bank. So you would expect that a certain level of standard in terms of duty of care to their staff. How is this? How did this even happen? Unbelievable. So we're going to be doing some digging and some finding out, in the following days, and we'll be sharing those information with you. So moving swiftly on, we have the next that we're talking about is the caretaker um, administrator of of River State, Mr. Ibaz. I won't say he's not a Mister. He's actually a retired, I think, Commodore, and he has been he has actually been in for 6 months. He was actually appointed by President Tinubu. So now the 6 months, you see, that's the interesting thing about life. Whatever has a beginning must have an end. So sometimes people look at it that there are some things in life that you just think it will go on forever. No, everything has a time. So, and while we are the business of while God graces us with life every day, we need to be mindful that nothing is forever. So the terms of our state of emergency has come to an end. 6 months, very very, it just seems like yesterday. 6 months is gone. You know, 6 months is gone. Even I myself, I find it really. I'm like, are you sure it's 6 months? Okay, yes, 6 months basically is gone. So we actually have the immediate past River State Administrator, Vice Admiral. Yep. Oh, sorry. So I said Commodore. Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ibas retired, and the River State House of Assembly may be gearing up for a showdown following the latter's decision to probe the state expenditure over the last few months under the former. Ibas ceased to be the administrator of the oil rich state on September 17, following the end of the 6 month emergency rule after President Bola Tinubu directed the suspended state governor Similaye Fubara, his deputy, and the State House of Assembly members to return to office from the previous Thursday. The River State House of Assembly, presided over by the Speaker, Martin Amewuli, during its first plenary after the end of the emergency rule, said it will investigate the state expenditure during the 6 months of emergency rule, according to the resolution of the House, to explore the process of knowing what transpired during the emergency rule with regard to spending from the Consolidated Revenue Fund for the award of contracts and other expenditure. Findings show that River State received at least 254.37 billion from the Federation Accounts Allocation Committee between March and August 2025 under the tenure of the sole administrator. This figure is based on analysis of FAAC data from the National Bureau of Statistics and other sources, while the NBS has released official breakdown up to June. The figures for July and August were collated from documents presented at FAAC meeting, obtained and reviewed. The data show Rivers took home 44.66 billion in March, 44.42 billion in April, 42.80 billion in May, and 42.30 billion in June, according to MBS. In July, the states received about 38.42 billion, while in August, it collected 41.76 billion, according to the document analyzed. This brought total net allocation in the 6 months to 254.37 billion, averaging 42.40 billion per month. If September follows the same trend, Rivers inflows could reach nearly 297 billion in 7 months. However, the structure of this allocation highlights the state heavy dependence on the 13% derivation from oil revenue. A breakdown shows that 13% oil derivation remained the largest single source of income. Between March and August, River received 133.24 billion in derivation, equivalent to about 52.4% of its FAAC allocation. In March, derivation amounted to 25.29 billion, nearly five times the statutory allocation of 5.14 billion, while in May it stood at 25.70 against 6.05 billion in statutory allocation. So, um, when you look at this, right? Well, I think one of the things they said, one of the key things they said is that despite this large allocation, River State has failed to publish its 2025 budget implementation report, the statutory document that details revenue, internally generated revenue, and the expenditure pattern. The absence of this report has left residents and civil society unable to determine how the billions have been deployed on capital projects, salaries, pension, or recurrent costs. River State had been engulfed in political turmoil for nearly 2 years, largely due to a power tussle between former Governor Wike and the successor Fubara, which resulted in a prolonged governance deadlock. In response to the crisis, President Bola on Tinubu on March 18, 25 declared state of emergency in Rivers and suspended Fubara as deputy and all elected members of the State House of Assembly for 6 months. So, um, there have been reconciliation, obviously, um, between Wiki and Fubara. So those have actually taken place. Seems to be holding. So the key thing now is that they are saying that okay, fine, everybody come back now. Everybody's back, but there is no. I'm just amazed that how can somebody be an administrator for 6 months and allegedly did not provide any um, there are no reports or there are no documents actually detailing how things have been spent, whether it's salary, debt, payments and all. So he says there is no government without accountability. We all know what has happened so far. The budget of the state, for instance, was passed by national without them going through all the necessary processes, including public hearings where the people ought to know what is going into the budget and all that. But this government must give an account of what they have received so far. It's not enough for them to come and stay for 6 months and go away without telling the people of the state what came in, how they spend the money, and all that. If this is not done, of course, the remedies are open to us and open to every citizen of River State to ask for it. And whoever spends public money without accounting for it will pay for it. If not today, sometime to come, we are not just going to rest. The civil society leaders maintain that the administration has failed to demonstrate transparency despite the huge FAAC received for enforcing calls for a full public inquiry to the state finances since March. So the administrator has reacted. He said, reacting to the House of Assembly move to probe the expenditure under his tenure, Iba said the lawmakers lack the power to investigate him, pointing out that they didn't appoint him as the administrator of the state. Whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. If he has done what he is meant to do, he's not supposed to say that. Ibas, while answering a question from our reporter through his senior special advisor on media, Hector, on Sunday, said it was understandable that having been away from the business of legend for a while, the lawmakers were merely trying to make an effort to discharge their function. He, however, described the lawmaker resolve as commentary, adding that the attempt to probe the former administrator was tantamount to probing the president, who appointed him, as well as the National Assembly, which supervised the activities of IBAS as the state administrator as he then was. According to Igbe, why nobody can prevent the assembly from probing what they perceive to be their function within the state, the attempt to probe the immediate past administration of the state will be a fool's errand. Wow. Really? So they shouldn't. Oh. When you say they were going to probe any of the administrator, was it the assembly that appointed the administrator? So what? Yeah, even if it's the president, yes, it's the president that has appointed the administrator. At the end of the day, the administrator was given the responsibility of actually running the state for 6 months. So you should be able to give accounts. So why can't you do that? What is wrong with that? You see, the point to note is so you can't stop people from running commentary. The House of Assembly has been on break for a long time, and you appreciate that they have not been able to discharge their function for such a long time. Now they have resumed. They have to make an effort to carry out their function. So it will seem their right to probe what has gone wrong in the state. Nobody can stop the lawmakers from carrying out a probe of what they perceive to be their function within the state. But like I asked earlier, were they the ones that appointed? I don't know why these guys keep saying this. So because they were not appointed, they can't give account. It's still public money, and yes, they are still he still represented the people in the states, regardless. So it's I think it's really it's Fubara at the moment is staying away. He's not saying anything. He's basically talking about the importance of peace, fostering unity and development, aligning his remark with the commemoration of the International Day of Peace. The Ibaz has to give. No, he has to. As long as it was actually as an administrator, whether it is the governor or whether no matter what, everybody in life must give an account in whatever. Once we have been put somewhere, so now the man has to give accounts. There's nothing. Nobody's accusing him of any wrongdoing. So that is what. So the way he's responding makes it seem as if there's something, something going on. So which is not supposed to be. So, but we'll be following development and see how this actually plays out. So, lastly, we'll be talking about the healthcare. Socialite Cubana chief priest actually laments about the healthcare system in Nigeria and said it's a joke. What's really scary about this is that if the person of Cubana could be saying that, so what would ordinary people, what are they supposed to say? This is a very rich guy, that can afford any of those, that can easily afford, healthcare treatment and anywhere in the world. And he's complaining that, anyway, let's quickly delve into this. Socialite Pascal Okechukwu, aka Cubana chief priest, has described the states of healthcare in Nigeria. In a post shared on his Instagram, chief priest said he is currently ill and went to the hospital for checkup, but the attitude of the workers there was disappointing. Okay, so it's not talking about cost; it's talking about treatment in the way, the attitude, and the character of the personnel. He said he ended up going to the facility to pick up medications and will do a proper medical checkup when he visits the UK. So he said, honestly, healthcare is a joke in this country. Walking to a hospital I have been using in this Ikoyi for years. Sick. After Vital, it's over an hour plus and no doctor is available. I don't want post the hospital because I understand what business is all about. I went to another one in Lekki and I have to fill a long form online to see a doctor. Well, I don't go Med Plus, go buy medication for typhoid and malaria. If I reach UK, make I do proper health care. Where it is a shame, sha. Now God the save person for this country. It's unbelievable. It's really sad, So if he is actually saying all of this, imagine. So what are the ordinary people supposed to say? What are the? I mean, this is somebody that, like I said, that can afford any, medical care. The medical care in Nigeria is I mean, it leaves a lot to be desired, honestly, in terms of cost. Now, the other key thing there is the fact that most of the hospitals there to see a doctor. Remember, all of our doctors they are literally they've all left. Well, almost. So, how many doctors do we have in Nigeria? Immediately that we have doctors, and I can't blame them. With the kind of money they're actually paying medical doctors. I mean, come on. Nigeria can afford to pay its medical doctors very, very well. Very, very well. To make it worth their while to stay. But unfortunately, you know, so it's also we're dealing with a lot of things. Number, he's talking about, no, no doctors. To see a doctor, they've put things in place that I think is a way of sort of stalling So when people say, "Oh, we want to see a doctor," they will say, "Oh, yeah, fill this form." By the time you are spending 2 hours, you won't know that time is flying. You know. But the key aspect of of what he's talking about is in terms of the attitude of the nurses. I thought by now, the things would have changed. That our nurses would be caring. A lot of people are actually, why do people go and study or use it? Actually study to be medical personnel, knowing fully well that they don't have any empathy. Their attitude sucks. Their character is suspect. So what's the point? You know, I believe that one of the key requirements to be a nurse, because I think those are the people he's talking about mostly. Is that you're talking about, their attitude, you know, their attitude there. Then again, the systems have been set up in place to waste people's time. Fill out this form, go online, do this and all that. What the heck is all that about? Anyway, so we'll be monitoring things and see how things actually play out there. So I just want to say thank you, everyone, and we'll be looking to come back again tomorrow by the grace of God, and we should just pray for the country, and we'll continue to push things forward. Nigeria is our country, and is a place that we actually call home. For those who are fortunate enough to be outside of the country, there's no other place. I mean, we've seen all the legislation that's actually changing across the world in terms of effectively telling people that regardless of what, we can withdraw your citizenship, you know, for some. So before you sell your house, before you sell your inheritance and everything in Nigeria for, like once I reach there, I will just use El Dorado and things. Some people make it and some don't. So this is one thing that people really, really need to actually put in mind. So without much ado, just want to say thank you very much, and we'll be looking to see you guys again